Greetings, all Shardvixen here. Okay, so I'm like really up close on the computer, the camera, because where I sit with my lights, I got crap behind me. Because I'm rearranging my corner over here, and I got, sorry, you know how it is, I got the itchies today. I didn't realize I had the itchies till I put the mask on, so, alright. Today is Know Thyself, and I'm doing the game one, and it's Tomb Raider. Okay, so if you watch any of my gameplay, you'll know that I finished Tomb Raider 2013, Tomb Raider, The Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow Tomb Raider. Plus, I did some older ones on the Xbox. Oh God, I got the... Just like scrub my freaking face. That's how I feel today. I have this new medication. It's working good. It's just some days I just get the itchies, and that's what it is, basically, the itchies. I play with my hair. I notice I play with my hair a lot. You know, psychologically, in gestures, that when you play with your hair, it's a way of showing people that you're comfortable. But I play with my hair more as a security thing than anything else, and it just looks kind of... I'm going to let it, the color, you know, I say this and then I always change my mind, but I think I'm just going to let the colors mute out, and then maybe we'll frost it, we'll bleach it again, and start out with some bright rainbow colors for a while. Anyway, so I have notes here, because my brain ain't working so well, like I said, because I got just pain in my face. It's normal level pain today. I just have scratching my back. Ooh, that gives me, Alright, so, Tomb Raider. I come from a generation where there wasn't a whole lot of representation of women, okay? In those fields that you really wanted to have representation in. Like, there was Jane Goodman, who did the gorillas. She went out. I think Jane Goodman did the gorillas. There was Jane Goodman, and there was the other one. One did chimpanzees and one did gorillas. Can't remember for sure. But both of them went out, and they lived in the wilds, and that was like as close to a Tomb Raider style thing that you could think of for me. Okay, maybe for other people not so much. But for me, that whole, they were out in the wilds, they were doing things. Because I suffered from anxiety as a child and phobias. I had phobias like you wouldn't believe. Things that other people did that I didn't think I could do myself really were like, wow. So when Tomb Raider came out, I had just moved to Reading, and I bought me a PlayStation 1. Now, I'd had all the Nintendos prior to that, and I had Sega. I didn't have the Dreamcast, but I had the first one before the Dreamcast. So I had video games that I had played off and on. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was our favorite TV show in the house. I had a small child. I was a single parent. I was going into my 30s, and I was like always looking for representation of what I thought were good female role models. Not like role models in the aspect I want to grow up to be like you, but that whole concept of connecting with a female hero or a female villain, and exploring those things that were feminine. Now, it can be argued that Tomb Raider wasn't that way, and I can see that. I mean, the only thing very feminine about her for the time era, I mean, now we were like, oh yeah, it's cool, she's feminine, you know, no problem. But for the time era that I came from, was that she had boobs, and she was female looking. And that was rare in video games, that was rare in other things. I mean, in Final Fantasy, you had Tifa, you know, and I was really excited by Tifa because she was a boxer, you know. But again, a lot of these were written by men. Now, that's not to say men can't write females and females can't write males. I mean, I really believe you can. I don't think that when you read the written form that people come off as, you know, being feminine or masculine. But I struggled with the concept of equality in between sexes and gender since I was young. Now, it has moved in a different ball direction, whatever you want to say, with everybody wanting to be able to pronounce their gender regardless of their sex. And that's fine, that's great. That's where I would have loved it to go. I would have loved it to be that way when I was younger. But I really liked Tomb Raider because she had that strong presence. Oh shit, I forgot what I was talking about. Okay, so Tomb Raider wasn't drawn like what I would have thought, just a heavy athletic kind of female. But, now hindsight is that after I had my daughter and then she became a teen, she was kind of built like Tomb Raider was. So that was like, oh, well, anybody can be, athletic and still have boobs and hips and, still be healthy. So that was a new concept too, because I had been raised during the era of Twiggy. And, itty bitty skinny children were the thing. Except for when I was in high school, I was so small. Like, I was thin and tiny like Twiggy was. Well, tall and tiny. And people made fun of me, because I didn't have the boobs and I didn't have the hips. And then people made fun of me when I did have the boobs and I had the hips. So I didn't really have boobs and hips. It was just fat by that time. So the fat will put in the places that the little. I was bones and then I was fat, twitchy. But it's a thing that you struggle through as society tells you what is a proper female look. And Tomb Raider, when Tomb Raider was created, and this is all my own opinions. This has no facts or whatever. It's just opinions and things that how I see the world. This is how I see the world, not how you might see the world. She was definitely, like comic books were, geared towards the male or people who like females. That's how she was geared. But because I read comic books since I was small, I could ignore that part. I could just kind of not. It didn't become important to me. I didn't care if you had big boobs, little boobs, whatever, big biceps, little biceps, or whatever. It was more of what it meant to me, So the human body with curves, male or female, when you get away from that whole very square, boxy look, and you start adding the curves to it, we think of, society has told us that curves are feminine and straight box is male. So when you're drawing or looking at pictures, males with the very boxy face tend to be our idea of masculinity, and women tend to have more curves to them, big eyes and curvy cheeks, and you'll get that V shape, but for the most part, round, soft, and squishy. And Tomb Raider still was that way. Now in 2013, Tomb Raider went to be a more realistic look. She's still obviously a female, but there isn't this intent with the big boobs, the big hips, there isn't that more sexualization of the older time period. There's still sexualization. I mean, it still is a very beautiful woman who is being portrayed as this person. It's not a plain Jane kind of style person, as we would say. I don't like the word plain Jane either. I love the name Jane, and I think that I've met some very beautiful Janes. That idea of the face that can blend in, it doesn't stand out, I guess. I don't know how to put it, because the way you say it, it sounds derogatory, and I'm not intending a derogatory statement on it. We have unreal, idealistic faces, and then what we call classic beauty, modern beauty, artistic like style things, and then we have what's everyday. And I don't even think there's everyday faces. I think there's faces you meet that just make you go, whoa! But to get back to Tomb Raider, so for me, I was able to ignore the over-sexualization of Tomb Raider because I ignored it lots of places in my life. It's not to say that I ignored it to the point that I didn't know it was there. It didn't factor into my gameplay. It wasn't, I didn't play her to watch her, you know. I do notice that more as an older adult than I did as a younger adult, though. And I think it's just the sign of the times. I think that we're very into explaining about what we all find is beautiful now. And trying not to get into it. It's we don't have words in our language, in the English language. I'm not sure about other languages since I don't speak them. But you don't have words that just say beautiful. You know, this is your face and beautiful kind of thing. And we have very polarized, very, yeah, polarized. Because you got beautiful and then you're ugly. But for me, Tomb Raider was exciting because here was in a video game, which I view video games as a way to escape, to become someone else. So to be able to play a female was awesome. Now, here's the thing though, as I got into playing video games, I didn't have a problem playing a male, and I never really had a problem playing a female. And if given choices, depending on the game, I will pick female, because that's how I identify for the most part. Which is why I like art, because art lets you pick your body type. Tomb Raider for a while was kind of important in my life. I played all the games. I didn't play 1 until later. I started out with 2. I went to 3. I played the Game Boy one, and I played. I went back to 1, I think, later. But then other games started coming out that had females in them, and PlayStation 2 had a lot more of those. There was Parasite Eve. There was Primal. There was this one my daughter loved with the young girl. Kyra. There was Kyra. There were more female superheroes. So Tomb Raider kind of got shifted towards the back because as I liked the games, there was just more of them that you could play that had females in them that were fun. Primal is one of my favorite ones, and I would really love it if PlayStation brought it back. Maybe in PlayStation 5. You were a female who you find out you're a half demon, and you go through these puzzles to, it'd be a retro game. Probably people wouldn't enjoy playing them. Side note, I really enjoy playing Final Fantasy VII again. I think the game has held up pretty well in its original state. I'll be excited to play the new too, but that's just me. I like old, I like new, I like to mix it up. Anyway, Tomb Raider came out in, I have to look at my notes here. There was a Tomb Raider comic book that came out in 1999. My daughter loved it. I loved it. We watched it. My daughter in 1999 was like 7 years old. We went and seen the 2 movies in the 2000s. We own them on DVD with Angelina Jolie. Great movies. I loved them. Loved them. I liked. The second one had Gerald Butler in it. I really liked looking at him. I still like looking at him, even like looking at him when he's younger, because now he's looking old like all of us. Still like looking at him. I love his voice. His voice is one of those voices I would, if you could program everything in your house to talk to you, that'd be one of the voices. That and Steve Bloom, who does Wolverine, and now I did another tangent. Okay, so the tangent. So in Know Thyself, we explore those. I explore how those things felt. So I got Tomb Raider. I could escape. It was a hard game, if I remember right, when I played it. Some of the parts I remember China Wall. I think that was in the second one. And the tiger, you slide down this thing. And tiger, I remember the T-Rex. I don't remember which one that's in, but there's a T-Rex one where you come out of this big tunnel and he's looking at you with his eyeball. And at the time, I was playing Dino Crisis 2. And Dino Crisis has a female hero in it as well. And in the comic book, she looks different than she does in the video game, of course, and I think that in the movies, they picked a good representation of what she looks like physically, for all of them. The only problem I had with the newest movie is it kind of took out that magic element that all of her games kind of had, because they weren't really based in reality. Even all the other ones, Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider, Shadow of Tomb Raider have a little bit of that element in them, the magic element. And so when the movie didn't quite have that, it went more scientific. I missed that. I get what they were doing, but I missed it. I don't know that my daughter played a whole lot of the earlier Tomb Raiders. I know that she played the Tomb Raider 2013. Again, it follows how my life was. In 1997, I moved from Sacramento to Redding. I got a job in a power equipment company. When I got laid off from that one and I got ready to, I was going back to school because it was hard to find jobs with the experience and things I knew. And I just have a hard time finding a job. People don't like me. So interviews are really tough. Every job I've ever gotten that worked out well, I got it from somebody. Every job that I did an interview for and the person hired me didn't work out very well. And so, once or twice, it can be considered a coincidence if you believe in that. But more than that, it's obviously a pattern. Even if it's just a really weird, random pattern, it's still a pattern. And so that's just my personal experience with it. So I had this time period of about 6 months where I decided I wasn't going to work. I was going to just hang out on my unemployment and go back to school. I applied for jobs, don't get me wrong, but I really wasn't looking for one. And so when I did get one, I was working as a door person at the college that I was going to. And I was going to going back to school is what was important. So at the time I did school, and then I applied as a substitute for special ed and preschool and kindergarten. And then that started my long trail of where I ended up in the long run. But during that 6 months period of time, I played a bit video games. And so Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy, was really kind of the ones I can remember playing. I played a Dino Crisis, Parasite Eve. I bought a PlayStation with some of my leftover money, and that's what I did when I wasn't looking for work or I wasn't going to school. I got back into playing video games, because prior to that, I just had older Nintendo games, but didn't really have any games that went into that more action-packed. Final Fantasy was about it, and Mario Brothers, probably, for a long time, Sega, that was it. And then PlayStation opened up more of what had seen on computer. And then I started doing more computer games because I was going to school and working on their computers and stuff like that. So, Tomb Raider was kind of that opening thing of looking at female action heroes in the video game concept. Not to say there weren't any other ones. That was the one that came across to me. And I think because I always say, when I get reincarnated, I want to come back as a badass motherfucker who can, like Navy SEAL style, like jack of all trades that can just do it all and be a superhero. That's what I want in life. Travel the world protecting people. That's always been my dream. And it's probably why I read comic books. It's why I read sci-fi and fantasy. It's why I read everything. And I didn't get to be that way in my life because of my mental health and not understanding my mental health. All right, so that's it. That's my little jaunt into why, as a person who was very into feminist and then equalitist, would like Tomb Raider. Because you can believe in things and still like things, and you can argue that effectively. It doesn't have to be that you can't enjoy things that obviously have huge amounts of sexualism, because you can use that and show where that sexualism is and how it affects you and why we need to change it. It doesn't take away from the entertainment, I don't think. That's my opinion. All right, that's it. I'll catch you on the flip side. Next week is What does the vixen say? I don't know what the question is, but that's what's next. Um, though my sister asked, "Why am I so beautiful?" and I said, "For the exact same reason she is." I have to say, Mike Young said that the amount of that beauty is only personality deep. I love that one too. Everybody check out Mike Young. All right, catch y'all. Peace, 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 peace. I have a drunk peace in finger.